very close physically, geographically to any of those people, so I did not have any information, any suggestions, any advice from any of them about what to expect in university. I was a reasonably good student in high school. I was probably in the top 10 or 15% of my class, though that really wasn't saying much. And I would not say that I was a good or diligent student. I came into university probably with a background. I spent 3 years here as the Associate Dean of Science, so I saw a lot of student records. So I can tell you with some certainty that I entered university with poorer grades than most people who got into McMaster. I'm not sure I would have qualified as a student at McMaster, as a matter of fact. And I didn't do much work in high school. I wouldn't say I was a slacker, but I didn't work very hard, so I didn't develop a lot of skills that I discovered later were necessary for benefiting from university. And so I entered university very scared young man. My first goal at university was not to fail, not to be thrown out after my first semester. I managed that, as you can tell. But it was a close thing, it seemed to me. I had to pick up an awful lot of skills fairly early. But for me, the 4 years I spent at university, as is generally the case for many students, were the very, very most important and best of my life up to that point. I was more different. I had changed more, learned more, developed more in the 4 years of university than I had in any other 4-year period, I think, in my life, except perhaps for my first 4 years before. So it was a transformative experience for me. And of course, I liked it so much I stayed and haven't ever left. And one of the changes that took place in me over those 4 years was my view of what education was about. Now, I entered university, like most students, with the notion that, well, this is about getting a job. This is about making more money than I could if I didn't go to university. And indeed, that is the case. I think it's true. But one of the curious things that I've learned, not just from my own experience, but the experience of others, from other sorts of information, is that the contribution of university education to your career, your job choices, all of those things, is not what you think it is. A lot of students come into university, and I've talked to many of them, thinking, I am preparing for a job. University is going to provide me with the specific skills necessary to perform a particular task in a particular kind of industry or business. And that's what I'm here to do. Now, there are some programs at university here at McMaster that do that. The professional programs, like engineering, nursing, OT, PT, some of the programs in business. But by and large, that is not the value of the university education. Even in those programs, it is not the primary value. If you listen to what employers say about the value of the university education, what they are looking for in a university graduate, you hear something very different. And you hear it consistently, all the time. In fact, well, I'll get to that. What they tell you is, it doesn't really matter what your specific job-related skills are when you come out of university, because we're going to have to train you anyway. Whatever position you take, you are going to have to learn a whole bunch of new skills, new facts, new approaches, new processes, new methods, new everything. So that's not what we're looking for primarily in the university graduate. What are we looking for? We're looking for an individual with much, much, much more general and generalizable and broader skills. We're looking for an individual who knows how to find out things, who can search out information in the many, many, many places that it lurks out there. Of course, the internet, we all know how to find information on the internet. It leaps out at you, for heaven's sakes. Books, journals, other people, right? That's a very important source of information we forget about sometimes. Other people. So we need someone who can locate information, who can evaluate the worth and validity and utility of that information, who can synthesize it, pull it all together, make sense of a variety of different points of view, and then apply that information usefully to the solution of a problem. In fact, to a number of problems. And you don't learn that in any specific course. That's something very general that you pick up as part of your university education. They're also looking for people who can communicate well, who can, after having found and evaluated and synthesized all that information, Explain it to somebody else. Communicate those ideas, either orally or in writing. Written communication is still important, right, despite the internet. And they're also looking for someone who can work well with others. We tend to think of most of our university education as an individual achievement. But in fact, most of the work world is based on collaboration. Whether it's in industry, government, science, it doesn't matter. It's teamwork. Every big, substantial project involves many, many people working together. So it's not just being able to do your part on a particular project. It's your ability to work with others and to bring out the best in them as well. To let them show and contribute whatever they can to the project. Those are the skills of management, I think. And you probably get a chance to practice and hone those skills here in university. I certainly did in my university career. And I would have to say that was one of my weaknesses when I arrived at university. I was not good with groups. I like to do everything by myself. In fact, I still sort of have that problem today. Now, most students, I think, told you, how many of you came to university with a particular career path in mind? Yeah, exactly. And almost invariably, it's the same 4 or 5 career paths. It's engineering, it's law, it's medicine, it's social work in some cases. But people know about only a few careers out there in the world. The ones they see on television, the ones they see in the movies, the ones their neighbors or their parents had. And they know nothing very much about any of the others, right? The other possibilities. And that's one of the things I think that university does give you. It gives you a chance to explore options, to see the possibility of other careers out there, and to change your mind very often before you get out of university. I was, I think I said I was Associate Dean of Science for students for 3 or 4 years, 3 years I guess. And I had the privilege and opportunity during that time to meet with incoming students every single week during the summer as they came in for orientation and so on and so forth. And because it was this faculty of science, I would ask everybody in the group, how many of you think you're going on to medicine? 80% of the hands would go up. Now, what I told them was that I also talk to students when they leave university. And that at that point, something like only 10% of the class is headed into medicine. Everybody else has found something else they would rather do. And that is an absolutely invaluable discovery during the course of your university career. I came into university not having any idea what I would do. I'm in psychology accidentally. When in the summer, before I arrived at university, they told me, you have to pick a major. Pick a major? I don't know anything about majors, you know? I mean, most of the topics in which you could major in university weren't covered in high school. There was no anthropology, there was no sociology, there was no economics, there was no psychology. I could go on and on. And yet there was the list right in front of me. So I crossed out all the things I thought I didn't want to be or major in. I was left with about 5 or 6. Psychology was one of them, and I said, that sounds like it might be interesting. So I sent that back. Now, it turns out I found 4 or 5 other areas that I would equally have been likely to choose had I known about them when I was in high school. But I stayed with psychology because, damn it was interesting. And still is. Anyway, let me tell you a couple of stories about people who changed their minds about their careers as a function of their education. Years and years ago, I was, for many years, the director of the introductory psychology course that Joe Kim is now running. He was, in fact, a TA for me. And I interviewed all of the applicants for the tutor positions and hired those that I thought would do really well in the classroom. And I happened to interview a young man who was in the bio-psych program, headed to medicine, right? Had always been interested in medicine since he was 3 or something. Keen. He was going to apply to 4 or 5 medical schools, blah, blah, blah. But he thought a little teaching experience might be a good idea. And he seemed like a real nice young man, so I hired him. And in the following fall, September, I sent him off to meet his first class, which is only like a 35-minute thing. Hi, my name is John. I think his name was John. And here's what we're going to do in the course, and here's how we're going to help, blah, 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 and goodbye, we'll see you next week. So I sent him off. 20 minutes later, he came back. I mean, I swear to God, he was not walking on the floor. He was walking over the floor by about 1.5 feet. He said, I know what I want to do now. Forget medicine. I want to be a teacher. I said, it's been 30 minutes. Give it a week, would you? But he never changed his mind again. He didn't apply that year to medical school. He applied to teachers' colleges. He got in, of course. And he finished, and he went out. Now, the last I heard from him was about 5 or 6 years ago. He's a principal somewhere out on the west coast of British Columbia and having a wonderful time. It was his calling. And I knew it as soon as I saw him in the classroom. He was perfect for it. He loved it. He lived for it. And he's making nowhere near the money he would have if he'd gone into medicine. He knows that. But there's no amount of money that can make up for doing the job you really don't like. Which brings me to my second story. Some years ago, again, I had a young lady come into my office who wanted to talk about taking a second degree in psychology. And I noticed that it had been 8 years since she had her first degree, which was in biology here at Mass. And as part of the conversation, I just happened to ask casually, so what have you been doing for the last 8 years? And she kind of hemmed and hawed and shuffled her feet and said, well, to tell you the truth, I finished medical school and became a doctor. You know, and my first thought, in fact, what I said to her, not these words, was, what the hell are you doing here? You are living the dream that half of our science students have, well, 80% of our science students have. Why are you here? Well, she'd started to practice. And she discovered that she really didn't like the work. And she said to me, right now, she said, I could not face the next 40 years of getting up every morning and doing something I really didn't like. And sadly, that is the fate that a substantial proportion of the workforce faces. If you look at the statistics, the proportion of people who really like what they're doing is sadly very small. And one of the things that university typically allows you to do is find a niche where that won't be true for you. Where you really, really like what you're doing. I don't know what happened to her, because she finished her degree and went on to do psychology, but certainly she had recognized something very important. That there is no amount of money that is going to make up for spending your entire working life doing something you don't like. And university gives you the chance to see other options than the ones you may have thought you had when you came in here. And that is a pearl of great price indeed. It's also the case, so that's one reason. It is the case that university prepares you for a career, not a job. One of the things that economists and others who look at the job market today tell us is that your generation is going to have 2 or 3 different careers, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 different employers over the course of your 35 or 40-year working life. So specific job skills are really not going to be where it's at for you. Not like your father's or your parents' or your grandparents' generation, where you could expect to be hired by firm X and retire from firm X in 45 years or 40 years. Not happening that much today. You have to be flexible. And the flexibility is exactly what university education does for you. This is what a university education is, at least very much partly about. Being a good learner, you need to have the skills to develop new skills. You need learning skills, and that is precisely what a university education gives to you, although it doesn't give it to you. We'll talk about that later. But that's what you come out with. By the time I left university, I was like 10 times the learner I was when I came in. It was noticeable. I was spending half the time studying that I had my first 2 years and getting exactly the same or better results because I was more efficient, I was more effective. I knew how to do it now. Not something I practiced in high school. Something I had to acquire and did acquire, fortunately, in university. But it's that flexibility, that ability to learn new things, to adapt to new circumstances, that is a hallmark of university graduates. Anything you practice, you get better at. Learning is one of those things. A lot of people have this notion that cognitive skills and abilities, like IQ, for example, intelligence, is fixed. It never goes up. You can use it well or use it poorly, but it never changes. That's baloney. Intelligence is a variable. You are going to be, literally, you're going to be more intelligent. You're going to score higher intelligence scores when you leave here than when you came in. Typically, university graduates go up by 10 to 15 points on their IQ between the time they arrive and the time they leave. Not unusual for that to be even higher. These are flexible skills. These are learnable skills. These are practicable skills, and that's what university gives you the opportunity to do. Become better at all these things that will benefit you when you finally enter the workforce and take a career of one sort or another. Now, that lovely little video that we saw second about the value of education also, I think, mentioned briefly another very important value to education, and that is it prepares you to be a better contributor to the democratic society in which you live. The thing about a democracy is that your representatives elected by you make the decisions. And this, I don't think I have to tell you, is a very complicated world. Not just internationally, but even nationally, sometimes even locally. There are very, very complex problems that need to be solved. Transit, poverty, you name it, hunger, you can go on. And that's just, I mean, that covers just a small fraction of things, disease, everything. And so in order to elect the people who are best likely to make the right decisions for our future, for your future, you have to be informed. You have to know what the issues are. You have to have thought about the pros and cons of various approaches. And while you will sometimes get that information or have that opportunity in university, you will at least, at the very least, get the skills necessary to do that exploration on your own. You'll know where to look. You'll know how to evaluate information on one side or another. You'll be able to come to a sensible conclusion that will lead you to make sensible decisions about who should be your representative. And certainly I think the young lady in that video was talking about the importance, not just of learning things in science and mathematics, though they certainly are important these days, but also things about culture. This is not only a multicultural, this is a multicultural world, and we've become, everything has become, this is a very small world, so the cultures are all in the same place now. There was a time, not that many years ago, when you had to go thousands of miles to immerse yourself in another culture. Now you just have to go up the street. Just up the road to Toronto, perhaps, or Mississauga, or down into parts of Canada. This is a multicultural society as well as a multicultural world, and we need to understand that. That's why empathy is important. And I'm not saying that university teaches you empathy, but it exposes you to an awful lot of different cultures and people. Not just in the classroom, not even especially in the classroom, but just around campus. That certainly was my experience, and I went to a relatively homogeneous university, but it was not as homogeneous as my hometown. There were people there from a number of countries, and I had never encountered that before in my life. It was an eye-opener. And it meant a lot to me to learn about that, because we have the tendency, of course, to believe that the only proper perspective on the world is ours. Everybody should share